Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success.
When you laugh with people, then relationship starts in business. That's what people don't realize.
Welcome, everyone, to our newest episode. We so appreciate you checking in today. I'm thrilled to be here with my co-host, Francois Lupien from How to Become More. He's amazing. You'll hear from him in just a minute. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Ray Engan. His business is called The Lean In Factor, and he is a presentation coach and kind of a sales coach for speakers and coaches. So welcome to the show, Ray. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's wonderful to be here.
Hey, so first of all, tell us how you became a presentation coach for speakers and coaches. I know you have some great stories from when you were young as well.
Oh, there's such a long story for this thing. So I did stand-up comedy for about 15 years and toured the country and wrote for some late night shows. And I also became a sales manager for 15 years. And while I was a sales manager, I was looking at the way that my sales teams were always up near the top of every metric and category. And I thought I was lucky. I thought I just had the right people. And then I realized that what I was doing is I was taking the part of stand-up that you don't see so much and teaching it to my salespeople. What I mean by that, I could walk into a bar in Rock Springs, Wyoming. It's 5 minutes before the show. There's 6 bikers playing pool for a couple $100 a game. And I have to get them to stop playing pool, turn and watch my show. And I could do that. And I realized that was a skill and it was something that anybody could learn. And I thought, I wonder if anybody would buy that. So what I did is I went to a seminar company and I went across the country teaching leadership classes. What I was really doing was taking my, whatever you call it, my syllabus, my agenda and my content and teaching them. And I quickly became one of their most requested speakers they had. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years. I should have done it for 1 year. And I was forced to go off on my own when this little thing called COVID, but it came in and I thought I was going to lose my house, lose everything. And I went to a mentor of mine that wasn't at the time a mentor of mine. I entered his class and he got me to look at things in a different way as far as the way I sold things. And I did so well in his system that he asked me to coach his people to do it. And so I went from client to coach, and now I'm off on my own doing the same thing. And it's been an amazing ride. I miserably failed trying to do it by myself 2 times earlier. I remember sitting in a wealth seminar hearing this guy say, the average millionaire goes bankrupt 2.5 times before he gets to keep his money. And I sat there thinking, wow, half a time to go. And that statement was actually literally freeing. That meant that, oh my God, I'm going in the right direction. And I haven't looked back since. So that's how I got to where I am today.
I love that. I love that. Wow. Stand-up comedy, eh? And then a sales manager. Interesting.
It really is a great combination because laughter is instant likability and trust. And when a stranger approaches you and says something like, can I help you? You pull back and your chin drops down because you're protecting the most vulnerable area of your body. And you'll say, okay, right? So you don't trust it. What happens when you laugh? You throw your head back. You're exposing the most vulnerable area of your body. And you're doing this subconsciously. So our limbic body system realizes that laughter creates immediate trust with people. And if there's a book called Humor Seriously out there, and it has the business aspect of humor and why it is so good for every business, it is the biggest hidden weapon you could possibly have as a salesperson in relationships. You get more second chances by having this ability to create humor. You don't even have to be funny to do it, to get the value of it. You just have to create it for somebody else. So you can let cat videos do it for you if you wanted to. But the smile and the lean-in factor that creates is such a huge advantage. Happy salespeople sell over 30% more than the ones that are not laughing and smiling. It's crazy.
Well, it's good to hear that you don't actually have to be funny, because I would love making people laugh, but I am just not funny. Because who was it? It was a very famous comedian who wasn't funny, and he had to study and learn how to be funny. Steve Martin.
Oh, Steve Martin. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because somebody was telling me that he loved Steve Martin. And I said, did you know he wasn't actually a funny person? He's actually quite a serious person.
One of the courses that I did to start off my journey along this, the first course I came up with was called the humor algorithm. And it's the process of why you laugh. It's the process of how you create it. And it's not a gift. It comes from years of trial and error. And it's a teachable thing. That's what people don't realize. Charisma, comedy, all these things, anything in business, they're all teachable tools that you can go into. And by utilizing these things and using them, if you look at life, everything is great. Everything that happens that's wonderful happens after the laughter. When you laugh with people, then relationship starts in business, in personal life, and it all happens after the laughter. If that's the case, shouldn't it be great to be able to control the laughter whenever you want and use it? I hate to say the word weaponized laughter, but you can use that to your advantage and get second chances, find a way in. One of the greatest marketers I ever knew, the first thing he ever did to get his first big client is he went down to the junkyard and he got a door off of a Volkswagen. He painted a message on the window with an arrow pointing up and delivered that to the client. And when you rolled up the window, it said, "We blow the doors off the competition." And humor is a benign violation of a norm that surprises you. And so by creating these benign surprises, you will put smiles on people's faces everywhere you go in. And when you walk in the room versus your competition, they'll be, "Oh, great. There they come. We like dealing with these people," versus, "Oh, they're going to say, 'Good morning. How are you today?'"
Thanks, Ray, for sharing. One of the things is you don't know me yet, but I'm always laughing, always smiling. I think that's, you can ask Jeannie, she'll tell you, I'm always laughing. And people says, "How come you always smile?" And this is my answer. It says, I tried it the other way and it doesn't work as well. And so interestingly, my mom used to tell us, a smile opens doors. Try it. And I tried. Well, at first I was a teenager, so I didn't want to try it. But later on, you start to try it and do it. And I must say that a true expert is someone that can decipher something that's happening, put it into words, and even make a course out of it and teach it so people understand. So Ray, you are an expert at this, because with the intricacies, that the description that you have of laughter and what it does and opening the throat, you have such a deep understanding that under your tutelage, people must learn very rapidly.
It came from reverse engineering why this happens, what it works, and just paying attention. I wrote a story for Toastmaster magazine about where to find stories. And I asked all these past world champions where they find their stories, because I know they've been asked that a million times. And I took what I thought was the greatest answer. Jim Key, I think he's 2002 world champion of public speaking. He said, "I live life and I pay attention." And one of the great things about humor is what people who are humorists talk about, or they see. What most people see is the logic of the idea. People who are funny see the logic of every word in that idea. And they choose which word to take, because most things that are funny, most things that are laughed at the water cooler are a result of something that I call a two-way option. It's actually, technically, it's a phonetic ambiguity, which are words that can be taken in more than one meaning. And you take a different spin on that word, and people have to reframe and look at things. One of the things I always tell clients is when you have a problem, you have to reframe it to tame it. And you have to make it so it seems easy and it seems like something you want to do versus the thought that you had about it that makes it very difficult. I was one of the most negative people on the planet. I used to work with the most positive woman in the world, and she drove me crazy. And every day, the same question: "How are you today?" "Oh, super, fantastic." And one day I was standing right next to her when somebody asked me the question, "Ray, how are you today?" And I mocked her. I said, "Oh, super, fantastic." And when I said it, just like right there, I started cracking up when I said that. And in the middle, I thought, "Oh, crap, this really works." And it does. The only person that can put a smile on your face is you. It's a reaction. It's your feeling based on what people are saying. But your attitude, it's like your shirt. You get to choose whichever one you put on every single day. And you can change it in an instant. And understanding that is the most beautiful thing in the world. Just like Francois's head.
Likewise, right back at you. Now, just for understanding, what type or what ideal clients, or what's the ideal person that come into your world and you can really transform them? What is it that they need to have, and what is the end product or result from going through such a process with you? Can you explain that?
When I work with people in presentation skills, I work with really good speakers and coaches that love their job. They love to speak and coach. They may not have the ability to be their own sales manager, though. So if they start talking about their business, they get excited, but they don't know how to go out and find the places that are actually going to pay them to bring in the revenue they need to take it from a hobby into a job. So if somebody's a really good speaker, really good coach, and they're having trouble, do they feel like the best kept secret in the planet? Because that's what I thought when I started with my mentor, a guy named David Newman from Do It Marketing. And he showed me how to take these ideas and how to get them into the hands of people. And he made it seem so simple. And that's what I'm doing right now, is taking these ideas that people have that are wonderful. Basically, the biggest problem people have is they have this native genius that they're so good at doing something and it's so easy for them. They think it's second nature and they think everybody can do it. So they don't think it's worth any money. I had to get over that in a big way. I had a stand-up comics mentality where if you go in with 25 bucks in your pocket, you have a couple beers, you do a set, you walk out with $37.50, it's a good night. And I didn't think that I just speak for a living. Who would pay for that? And it turns out a lot of people do. And there's over, I think, 10,000 speaking gigs a day in the United States alone. A day.
Wow. I think you're right about people have innate talents and they just think everybody else has them. So that doesn't make me special or unique. So I love that you pointed that out.
Question on that. You talk about 10,000 a day. Is it all live, or are there more and more since COVID that are, you say, online, or is only live, or what's the proportion or ratio? Because I'm sure that COVID really skewed that balance after a while, but now I guess it's coming back to a normality. So what would it be in your opinion?
COVID took it from 595 to 95.5 in like overnight. But the bulk of the meetings are now going back to being live. That said, there is a substantial amount that will always be virtual and always online. And there's a big difference in being charismatic online versus charismatic live. And there's a lot of people that could not make that switch, who are great, fantastic live speakers, but they come online and they're not so good. And one of the big differences, these things right here, your hands, people trust your hands. There's a reason. Hey, hold your hands up. A, they don't want to see there's a weapon in there, but B, if I can see your hands, I know what you're doing and I know what you're thinking. Your thumbs are the most confident area of your body. And see, it even pops it up right there on the screen. And so if you see somebody sits like this across from you, they're confident and they're sitting there. If you're sitting with this on a table, it's like hands of prayer kind of thing. But if you say something that disturbs them or they don't really feel comfortable, they will put their hands like this, which essentially hides their thumbs. And there's a reason why every politician does this. It's not because they have this DNA that makes them do that. There's spin doctors that know this and say, oh my God, the thumbs are so confident. But the problem with virtual is, where are our hands? They're down here. So you have to make a conscious effort. I've learned to speak with my hands higher because I know it makes a difference in the relationship that I have with the audience.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I'm always talking with my hands. And when we were first doing videos, my business partner was like, no, you need to keep your hands down because we just want to see your head. And she was like, stop moving your head, because I'm always moving around and stuff. So I'm grateful to hear you say that. I'm going to tell her too.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And the way that you would use a stage in person, you use the screen. And one of the favorite things of all, people think if you scream, you make a point. It's not true. If you get quieter, make a bigger point. And I love that the technique I teach is called big head, little voice. Yeah.
That's awesome. Again, it goes to show that something that can be simple, there's so many ramifications to it, and you're peeling the onion again and again. It just shows your expertise as to what we're talking about, Ray. And this is, yeah, you're a ray of sunshine.
A drop of golden sun, that's me, a name I call myself. I come from far. It's a long way to run. So I've never said that before.
That's awesome.
I can tell.
So, do you have something that's coming up soon that you'd like people to know about? What's a project that you're working on, or a legacy, or something that tickles your fancy a lot, like you want to make a difference? Is there something coming up?
I did this last year and I came up with this thing called the $1 Million Challenge. And I did it on a whim that I just thought we could do it. And the first thing I did was I went with 7 people and I said, let's see if we can create an extra $1 million just without a lot of extra effort, just with the low hanging fruit. Because here's the key that I do with people. I take people that love to do what they do, but don't necessarily like the selling part of it. And I become their sales manager and I give them the little things that they need to do to sell. And we have so much low hanging fruit in our backyard that we can just go out and pluck it, but we don't realize it's there. So I took this group, I gave them one tip. And the tip I gave was to write down the names of everybody that they used to work with, that they enjoyed working with, that I haven't talked to in 6 months. And however long that list, I did it for myself, it was 60 people. And I had people send out a simple email to these people, because friends buy from friends. They don't buy from companies. They don't buy from corporations. And corporations do not buy from corporations. They buy from the people in the corporations that convince them that emotionally, this is a good thing for us and our company. And so you have to create that familiarity of friendship. And when you send this letter that says, I hope this finds you well, you don't say that to a friend. You make a statement based on something that last time I saw you, you were 3 to the wind. And just something that people will recognize. Like, here's a statement your friends never say to you. Good morning. How are you today? In business, what we do, every time we say that, we put this wall up in between us and the other person in that company we're trying to get into that says, I don't know you, so therefore you probably shouldn't trust me. We don't say that out loud, but that's what you're saying when you say, good morning, how are you today? So I start everything with a statement. When I come on Zoom meetings, I don't say, good morning, everybody, because that first line, it's the prime real estate of your interaction with people. So this email, simple, 7 words, Francois, it's been too long, let's catch up, and then you send it off. You could, if you want to put something in there, put it in the PS, do not put it in the bulk of that email. And you'll be surprised how quickly those get answered. And then you can have virtual coffee, and what you're doing is you're chatting with a friend and you tell them about what you're doing, and they'll go, oh my God, that's fascinating. Is there anyone you know that needs this? Oh yeah, me. And that happens a lot. Or, oh my God, that's perfect for my friend Ted. You may have heard him, he talks a lot. He's the TED Talk guy. All these things, these are things that people don't see. And by doing this, in the first tip, that little first tip that I gave you right there, we created about $70,000 worth of business with 7 people. And I thought, oh my God. So now I've created a mastermind that works with that along the same ways. Meet once a month and we go over things. And I take the people in the mastermind and I have them form their own masterminds with each other. So they've got accountability groups, because everybody, when they talk about their native genius, their eyes light up and they talk about it. And so that sells itself. But there's a big difference between building rapport and strangerhoodship. I don't know what that word is, but I'm making up as I go along.
I don't think that's a word, strangerhoodship, but go for it.
It is now. And the biggest gap that's missing, this is the gap that I discovered that is almost untaught, is connection. Rapport is one thing that you've already connected, but that connection, how quickly can you make people feel like you've been friends forever? And those little tips like asking questions is out, making statements is in. If somebody were like, see this shirt, it's a little bit loud, it's flashy a little bit. Guess what? If you came up and talked to me about my shirt, I would not be upset at all. I wore it because I'm flashy and attention getting. And so when people wear colors like this, it's free game to talk about the first second you hop on a Zoom call. People love their shoes. And if you say, wow, look at those shoes. If you talk about their shoes, you get one of 2 answers. You'll find out who made them or how much they cost. They either be like, oh, these Jimmy Choo, or these Temu.com, $6. And they'll tell you exactly what that is. But now what you've done is you've created this aura of friendship, and you can have this conversation that you'd never have before, where it would just be silent and uncomfortable. There's a little pizza parlor across the street that has a bar. And I saw this guy go in. I walked in. He was like 10 feet ahead of me. And there was 1 seat left. And he walked up to this woman sitting there and goes, is this seat taken? And she looked at him with the kind of creeped out look. And she goes, yeah, somebody's sitting there. And then he turned and walked away and sat at a table. And I walked up and I sat in the seat and said, thanks for saving this for me. And she goes, sure. Yeah. Statement versus question. Huge difference. Huge difference in creating connection with people, with strangers.
I love it. Once again, You're just dropping nugget after nugget because of the professionalism and at least the deep understanding of what you're talking about. Statement versus question. 3 words, but they're so deep. And when you explain them, it makes such a difference because the story that you just said, everybody listening, we can see ourselves in there. And it doesn't need to be hard to be efficient and effective. And thank you for sharing that.
There's 3 things. So the National Speakers Association last year had their very first Last Story Standing, and one of my clients, Jeff Rogers, was the winner of that. But one of the things that we tried to do, he had a 15-minute speech that he had to fit into 5 minutes, and it has to have a business application and be entertaining to a group of professional speakers. So the 3 words that really apply to everything that I do is clarify, simplify, and amplify. And the simplify part, I call that turn 8 into 3. Take the 8 words you are about to tell me and give it to me in 3. Now, what amplifies your message is taking the most important word in a sentence and putting it at the end of the sentence. And what I should say is at the end of the sentence comes the word of most importance. That would be the correct way of saying that. But if you do that, you will double and triple the power of your public speaking, the power of your message in writing and in one-on-one.
Is that because people like for the first part are trying to figure out who you are or what you're saying, and then they catch on to the end of it? How come? What's the psychology behind that?
To quote one of the greatest speaking coaches of all in the world, Miss Patricia Fripp, your last words linger. I hope you could tell she was British from that, but it really is your choice of words. And one of the things, if you look at some of like Elvis Presley songs, words of one sound, I won't even say one syllable, words of one sound that are simple and highly understandable. It's great to have a huge vocabulary, but if I say something and you go, what does that mean? Boom, I've lost you. When people speak, they speak in initials. Boom, you've lost somebody. I used to hang out with a group of nurses just because one of them was my best friend and the rest of them were cute. And they would start talking and I'm sitting here going back and forth. I have no idea what they're talking about, but they used initials. I watched a guy lose an audience. He lost 3 people with one statement. That is a very common statement. He said, in Q3. And a guy in front of him said, what's Q3? He said, I believe that's the 3rd quarter. So he lost those 2 for the next sentence. He lost me for longer than that because I watched that and go, oh my God, how can I turn this into a story that I can convince people to not speak in initials when they speak? And it's incredible to watch. We try to look like we know what we're doing by using these initials. And what actually you do is you embarrass people without them feeling like they can actually share their embarrassment because they don't know what it is. And one of those people might be your boss.
Got it. Oh, this is so good, Ray. I could talk to you all day.
If people want to get a hold of you, let me tell, is there something on your website? Do you have an ebook? Do you have a consultation? Do you have something that people can actually have a desire as we speak right now, because many do, I'm sure, want to get closer to Ray? What would be the best suggestion for them to do?
I would suggest having a one-on-one with me. I have a Calendly link that should be on the website. Ray@humorspeaks.com is my main address, or Ray@rayengan.com. They both work. I love sitting down with people and talking with them for 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, I can find something in what you're doing and give you 2 or 3 tips you can walk away with that'll make your job better and easier. So that's the simplest and easiest way that I love to do. I help people write things, I help people present, and I help people sell. And it's not like it's selling, it's like creating conversations with your friend. And if you have a situation where you have to call people that you don't know, the first thing I tell you is to call your friend that puts you in a good mood. Talk to them if you're going to want to talk to them for 20 minutes, talk to them for 15, and then hang up and then just pick up the phone and call the person that you're a little bit leery about calling, because then you'll be in a great mood. Your mood changes the way you appear to everybody else as well.
Oh, I love that. So many golden nuggets here today. So we will put all the links in the show notes so everybody can find you. But I do have one last question for you. If you could provide a tip to make the world a better place, what would that be?
There are so many people out there that have heroes and they worship what they do. And there's these weird people that have gotten these, I don't know how they became heroes. But the number one thing I would tell you is if somebody that you admire, don't look up to your heroes, look into them. Find out what it is that makes them tick. how did they get where they are? Jim Rohn says, you're the aggregate of the 5 people that you hang around. Well, hang around with people that do things that you want to do or that they're better than you, and take those and make yourself better. And then the world becomes a better place.
I love that. This has just been such a pleasure, Ray. It has been so good to get to know you a little bit and to hear all your stories. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.